massive barrier to entry, who are in a market that is big and growing. Right? So that's why I think a lot of these companies are commanding huge prices. The IPO market, I think it's a bit frothy right now, which is why a lot of companies are taking the private money in advance of doing something publicly. But with that said, I think good companies can go public anytime. Our chairman was the CEO of OpenTable. He bought in Jeff Jordan. They went public at the worst possible time and did phenomenally well. Right? And so I think great companies with good fundamentals can go public anytime.
Gary, two quick questions. First, I'd like to congratulate you on your presentation because I learned more from your pivots and the shortcomings than I have maybe from any speaker. My question is, how did you ensure the quality of the employee? And number two, how did you ensure that the employee will in fact get paid?
So the quality of the employee, what we did was very similar to eBay. They have a reputation system. So at the end of every assignment, you get rated, every worker gets rated based on their skills, quality, deadlines, communication, and cooperation. Skills, quality, deadlines, communication, and cooperation. But that wasn't enough because you may be a really difficult grader, I may be an easy grader. First example of this is a friend of mine hired a worker on oDesk, built a website for him. It's $2,500. My friend was thrilled. 5 stars across the board. And I was talking to my friend, and he said, "Hey, it's pretty good. I spent $2,500. I was getting local quotes for $25,000, so I'm just thrilled with the savings." And I said, "It looks like you loved your guy." He goes, "Yeah, I like my guy. He was okay." I'm like, "He was okay? You gave him 5 stars." He goes, "Yeah, he begged me not to ruin his life on the rest." So there's this grade inflation. You hired a guy in Bangladesh or Russia or Michigan to work for him. You don't want to dog him forever, so you go easy on their grade, right? You're like, I'm never going to use them again, but good luck to you. And so we started doing stuff behind the scenes. Like we would ask clients, how likely are you to hire this guy again? So we would ask individual NPS. And we wouldn't display that information, we would use it privately. So it's, hey, you gave this guy 5 stars publicly, what would you tell us, wink, wink, behind the scenes privately, private feedback? There was about a 30% delta between the two, and that private feedback was a massive, feature for us. That turned out to be a great thing. We would use that in our algorithm. But that wasn't enough. What about people that hadn't worked? We implemented tests. We have thousands of tests that you can take to prove that you have the skills that you say you have. You could upload samples of your work, so we have a really robust portfolio and profile functionality, similar to the marketplace for gigs. Why not upload a sample of your music? If you're a designer, show me what you have done before so I can make a visual idea. And then, in addition to all of that, we still have really robust interviewing and quiz-like tools. So I can do custom questions for applicants. So you're going to apply to my job. I'm going to say, hey, in the applicant, tell me a little bit about how you would solve this problem. Or what would you do in this situation? Or what have you done in the past? We added video, we added audio. So anything to enable you as an individual to distinguish yourself. And then we have a whole team of data scientists that look at matching. So I post my job for iOS. You apply to my job, yet you haven't done an iOS job on our platform. I'm going to suppress you in search. I'm going to put you below the fold, and I'm going to feature guys I know are great at iOS. And so there's a lot we can do in the matching algorithm to ensure a good fit. So lots of things like that.
Payment.
How do we ensure payment? Every client signs a contract with us that says, I agree to pay for every hour worked, whether I like the quality of work or not. And if you think about it, what we did was we best replicated that work happens in the offline world. So if I came to work for you, and I was in your beautiful home in Atherton, and I walk in, and maybe it's Woodside, it's on the board. So if I'm working for you and I sit next to you, you can decide whether or not you like the quality of my work. But if you agree to pay me $10 an hour, and I work 40 hours this week, at the end of the week, the fine state of California would say pay the man $400. Now, we might have a discussion about it. You might say, you know what, it took you 40 hours to do what most people could do in 10. I don't think I should pay you for 40. And I might say, I'll tell you what, if you don't dog me forever, how would you settle for half? And we may shake hands on that and come up with an agreement. But the state of California would say, you owe $400. That's what oDesk does. So we say, look, you agreed to pay $10 an hour. We can prove that he actually worked 40 hours, pay $400. We pay the worker that $400, whether we collect it or not, and then we come after you and say, hey, you agreed to pay $400. And if you say, you know what, the quality of work was so poor, I'm not paying, we say, that's cool, you hired a guy that was guaranteed, you don't have to pay. If it's somebody that wasn't guaranteed, you have to pay. And our loss rate there is very, very low because we do a good job of setting expectations up front. That you're going to pay whether you like the quality of work or not. So it's appropriate expectation setting. It's lots of what I call stickers on the ladder, right? Where you walk into Home Depot and you see so many stickers on the ladder that you say, oh, I'm never going to stand on that thing. So you have to do an appropriate job of having just enough stickers, but enough confidence that you're not going to be left on the ground with a broken leg.
Were there times where you had to say no to one player in the marketplace for the greater good of the market? So if they wanted a particular feature, but you were more focused on the marketplace environment, and how did you think about that trade-off of a better experience versus a better market?
Yes, so the question is, do we have to say no to one side of the market or sometimes both sides of the market? The answer is constantly, every day. You have to make a decision in favor of the market, and one side or the other. And from the very beginning, I think the reason, if you say, why was oDesk number one? What enabled you to pass all the competitors, despite the fact, eLand started in 1999, we blew by them in 2008 and never looked back, right? To the point where we were twice as large. I would say, first and foremost, I would say brilliant execution. I mean, come on. I'm kidding. Only partially. I would say we had a better business model. What we did was we best replicated the way that work happens in the offline world. And that's on the basis of time. Most of us go to work and we get hired and fired based on our results, but we get paid for our time. And that invention, right, the fact that not only could we work on hours, but we provided software that enabled you to track those hours, that was huge. So it was execution on a better business model. And it was the fact that it really was the most fair way for us to work remotely. It was fair for workers because we would guarantee that an hour worked is an hour paid. Whether or not your client likes the quality of the work, your reputation shouldn't be held hostage, or your money shouldn't be held hostage because the client didn't think you did 20 hours worth of work. You proved you did 20 hours worth of work, and in on-premise work, you would be entitled to your 20 hours of payment. So we had the fairest system, guaranteed work and guaranteed payment. I guarantee that an hour billed is an hour worked, and I guarantee that an hour worked is an hour paid. And it was that, by making decisions that supported that fairness, that freedom, and that boundless opportunity for companies and workers, by staying true to that premise, that enabled us to surpass all of our competition. It was that single tagline on our website. Like we hired a firm and they came in and they said, ready? Guaranteed work, guaranteed payment. You're the only ones that can claim that. And that single phrase helped us to make good decisions for both sides, not one side over the other. So in our marketplace, the customer wasn't always right. I stood up for workers. I would go to companies and say, pay up. You agreed to $10 an hour, they work 20 hours, pay them and consider yourself fortunate that it only cost you $200 to figure out that the guy was no good. Where else are you going to do that? You can't get somebody to get out of bed for $200. And then once companies realize that, they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I can hire 3 people and keep the best one. I'm going to do this all day long, right? So once people get their mind around how fair it is, that enabled us to make good decisions. 2 more questions.
How do you protect intellectual property in all different countries, citizen payments?
Yes, so the question is about IP. How do you protect your IP? And we spent a lot of money on lawyers, and we have pretty robust contracts. So every worker on the platform says, I'm not going to, you own the IP. As soon as you pay me, as soon as I get paid, the IP is yours. And I have no claims to it, and every work I do for you on an hourly basis belongs to you, as long as I get paid for that hour. And similarly, I signed a contract that says I'm not going to use anybody else's code. on your project. I'm not gonna license anybody else's software or give it to you. So really robust contracts that have been tried and tested over the years. And the truth is that we've had very, very, very few issues. Like in 8 years, I can think of 3. And if I told you the use cases, you'd say, that's nothing, right? So as simple as one of the workers on the platform posted a use case on his own website about something he built for an oDesk client. And the client called us and said, that's a violation of my IP. We said, you're absolutely right. And he had it down within hours. So that kind of a thing is about the extent of IP issues. And the truth of the matter is, if you think about it, I think that there's more risk to your IP with local employees who have the resources and the wherewithal and the money and the Sand Hill Road down the street than there are for a team of distributed remote people in Bangladesh or Ohio with no resources, right? So it's not, I think people have to get over the fact that their IP is not that one original or two, that they're probably not the only company in the world thinking about the same thing. And the sooner you get on to executing, and I think that this is a pretty lightweight way to start executing, that it's further away from IP risk than even on-premise local, right? And the number of cases would certainly indicate that. We've had none.
Yeah, I'm curious. So your big advantage was to charge by the hour and really guarantee the hours. But now, Elance, as I recall, is mostly about project stuff. They don't care if you take 10 hours to translate this document or 1 hour, they want the document translated. How do you put those two cultures together?
Well, you do exactly that. You recognize that there are only 12% overlap of customers, right? Because most of Elance's work is fixed price. Build me this widget. They've got a really nice system for escrow and milestones. And the issue there was that in the early days, Elance's projects were very, very small, $120 on average. But by really focusing and executing well on fixed price work, a market that we were willing to seed, we offer it. It was 10% of our revenues. We started offering it in 2007, and we launched some initial functionality that we had not touched since 2007. Okay? Now, what you don't realize about Elance is that in 2012, like single-digit amount of their work was time-based. 90+% of it was fixed price. By 2013, that looked more like 30% of their work was time-based. So they were moving more into time-based from fixed price, and therein lies the synergy. We're mostly time-based, you're mostly fixed price. If we're both going after time-based, we should put these things together. And because we don't want to go and build fixed price, you've already got a great system for that. And you don't want to go build time-based and global payments and hourly infrastructure and. So 1 + 1 truly equals 3 here. Only 12% overlap of customers, most of yours fixed price, most of ours hourly. We both have 2 separate enterprise offerings. And you don't need 2 of everything. You don't need 2 fraud, trust, and safety departments, 2 CFOs, 2 CEOs, 2 marketing budgets. We're going to the exact same place, and we used to be going there differently, but now we're going the same way, right? And so the synergy and the leverage was the reason to go.
Well, thanks a lot, Gary.
Thank you.